One Frigo, $500 million, Russia's new Black Sea flagship, the Admiral Marov, sent to replace the legendary Moskva that Ukraine sank in 2022. Moscow promised this ship would restore Russian naval dominance. It lasted 8 minutes in combat. Ukraine hit it with Storm Shadow cruise missiles and Neptune anti-ship weapons in a perfectly coordinated strike. The flagship burned, listed, sank. 470 sailors went into the water. Russia's Black Sea fleet lost another capital ship, and the world watched Moscow's naval power collapse in real time. This is how Ukraine turned Russia's symbol of resurgence into an underwater graveyard. October 7th, 2025, 11:34 p.m., Black Sea, 93 Miswar southwest of Sevastopol. The Admiral Makarov led a small task force project 11356, Frigo, 4,000 tons displacement, armed with Kaliber cruise missiles, still surface-to-air missiles, torpedoes, anti-submarine rockets designed as a multi-role combatant capable of dominating regional waters. Russia built 6 of these frigates. 3 operated in the Black Sea Fleet. Tonight, the Admiral Marov was the flagship, the symbol, the pride of a fleet that had lost too many ships already. The frigate's mission was political as much as military, show presence, demonstrate Russian control of Crimean waters, intimidate Ukraine, reassure Moscow that the Black Sea Fleet remained operational despite catastrophic losses. The Moskva sank in April 2022, 3 landing ships destroyed in 2024, multiple patrol boats sunk by naval drones. Sevastopol harbor attacked repeatedly. The Black Sea Fleet was dying slowly. The Admiral Makarov was supposed to prove otherwise. It failed spectacularly. Admiral Viktor Sokolov commanded the task force from the frigate's bridge, a 32-year naval veteran, survivor of the Moskva sinking, where he lost half his staff, promoted to fleet commander specifically to rebuild morale and capability. Tonight was his first major operation since taking command. Simple patrol, nothing risky. Stay within range of Crimean air defenses. Maintain radar watch project strength. Return to Sevastopol at dawn, standard routine for a flagship, except nothing about the Black Sea was routine anymore. At 11:41 p.m., Ukrainian military intelligence confirmed the Admiral Marov's position. Multiple sources, satellite imagery, electronic intelligence, a reconnaissance drone operating at 15,000 bal. The frigate's radar signature was unmistakable. Ukraine's military command faced a decision. This was the Black Sea Fleet flagship. Sinking it would be a strategic victory, devastating blow to Russian morale. But the ship operated with air defense coverage. Attacking it meant risking expensive Western-provided weapons. The authorization came in 4 minutes. Weapons free, destroy the flagship. Ukraine had been planning this strike for 3 weeks. Ever since intelligence detected the Admiral Marov's deployment patterns, the Ukrainians assembled a combined arms package. Storm Shadow cruise missiles from British stock, Neptune. Anti-ship missiles from domestic production. TB-2 Bayraktar drones for reconnaissance and targeting. HIMARS for suppression of Russian air defenses, and perfect timing to catch the flagship in a vulnerable position. Everything aligned. Tonight was the night. If you want to see how Ukraine fights Russia on the seas with cutting-edge Western weapons and homegrown innovation, subscribe to Navy Force right now. We break down real combat operations with details you won't find anywhere else. At 11:47 p.m., 2 Ukrainian Su-24 bombers took off from an airfield in western Ukraine. Each aircraft carried 2 Storm Shadow cruise missiles, 4 missiles total, range 150 miles through. These are British-French design and precision weapons, stealth characteristics, terrain following flight profile, Warhead 990 LB of broach tandem-shaped charge designed to penetrate hardened bunkers, but they work just as effectively against warships. Each missile cost $2.2 million. Ukraine had limited stock. Using 4 meant this target was worth it. The Su-24s flew low, 500 ft above terrain, radar evading profile. They reached launch position 97 miles from the Admiral Marov at 12 YD3 a.m. The pilots received final targeting data from the circling Bayraktar drone. Target coordinates, course, speed, wind conditions, everything needed for perfect shots. At 12:04 a.m., both aircraft fired, 4 Storm Shadows dropped from pylons. Motors ignited. They accelerated to subsonic speed, hugged the wavetops, flew toward the Russian flagship at 550 mph. Simultaneously, a Neptune battery on the Ukrainian coast received the same targeting data. The battery commander calculated firing solutions. Range 134 miles, well within Neptune's capability. He had 6 missiles ready. 4 would engage the Admiral Marov. 2 would target escort vessels. Redundancy mattered. This strike had to succeed. At 12:05 a.m., the Neptune missiles launched. Solid rocket boosters ignited with brilliant white flames. They climbed to 3,000 ft, then dove toward the ocean surface. Low-altitude cruise profile. Target acquisition time, 7 minutes. The Admiral Marov's radar operators were watching for threats, but they were looking in the wrong direction. Their attention focused on the Ukrainian coast, northeast. They expected drone attacks from that vector. Instead, the Storm Shadows approached from the northwest. Different angle, lower altitude, harder to detect. The frigate's frigate radar system picked them up at 12:09 a.m. range, 23 mph, 4 contacts, low altitude, high speed, incoming. The tactical action officer sounded general quarters, but 8 minutes was about to become eternity. Admiral Solov rushed to the Combat Information Center. His worst nightmare was manifesting. Multiple missiles inbound. His ship had steel surface-to-air missiles, effective range 25 miles. But the system needed time to lock and engage, time he didn't have. The Storm Shadows were covering 23 miles in less than 3 minutes, so ordered immediate SAM launch. Fire everything, engage all contacts. His crew scrambled to execute. Too slow, too late. The Admiral Marov's still system fired 2 missiles at 12:10 a.m. They accelerated toward the incoming Storm Shadows, but the British cruise missiles had countermeasures, electronic jamming, evasive maneuvers. One still missile lost luck, exploded harmlessly. The second missile tracked successfully, intercepted 1 Storm Shadow at 11 miles. Explosion lit up the night sky. 3 Storm Shadows remained, still incoming, still lethal. What would you do if you were commanding this Russian frigate? Type A for full speed evasion, Type B for maximum defensive fire. Comment your tactical decision below. The frigate's AK-630 close-in weapon systems activated. 6-barreled rotary cannons, 5,000 rounds per minute. Last-ditch defense, wall of lead against incoming missiles. The gun swiveled, locked onto targets, opened fire. Tracers arced across black water. 1 Storm Shadow flew directly through the defensive fire. Shells hit the missile's body, damaged but not destroyed. It kept flying 2 seconds from impact. The first Storm Shadow struck at 12:13 a.m. port side, just above the waterline. The Broach warhead is designed for 2-stage penetration. First charge, blast through outer armor. Second charge, detonate inside the target. The missile punched through the frigate's hull like tissue paper. 990 lbs of explosive detonated inside the engineering spaces. Catastrophic damage. The blast wave ruptured fuel lines, shattered machinery, killed everyone in the compartment. Secondary explosions rippled through adjacent spaces. The second Storm Shadow hit 4 seconds later. Starboard side midship. This missile targeted the ship's command systems. Another massive explosion. The frigate's radar mast toppled. Communication antennas sheared off. Fire erupted from multiple decks. The ship's electrical system failed. Emergency lighting flickered on, then died. Total blackness except for flames. Solv realized his ship was dying. 8 minutes into the engagement, the flagship was already lost. The third Storm Shadow struck the bow at 12:115 a.m. This hit was catastrophic. The explosion tore open the forward magazine where Caliber cruise missiles were stored. 18 missiles each, carrying a warhead. The chain reaction was inevitable. The entire bow section exploded in a fireball visible from 60 meters away. Shockwave shattered windows in Sevastopol. The Admiral Marov's forward third simply disintegrated. 470 sailors, 150 died in that single explosion, but Ukraine wasn't finished. The 4 Neptune missiles arrived at 12:47 a.m., 32 seconds after the third Storm Shadow hit. The frigate was already burning, already listing, already doomed, but the Neptunes ensured total kill. 2 missiles targeted the main hull. 2 targeted the Super Rupture. All 4 hit within 8 seconds of each other. More explosions, more fires, more dead sailors. The Admiral Marov broke apart. The keel snapped. The ship separated into 2 sections, both pieces burning, both sinking. Admiral Soalov was on the bridge when the 4th Neptune hit. The explosion threw him across the compartment. He survived briefly, long enough to give the order, "Abandon ship, every man for himself." Then the bridge collapsed. So went down with his flagship, just like his predecessor, on the Moskva. Another Russian admiral killed by Ukrainian anti-ship weapons. Another symbol of failed naval command. Don't go anywhere. What comes next shows how this 8-minute engagement destroyed Russia's Black Sea strategy and proves why Moscow can never control these waters again. The Admiral Marov sank at 12:19 a.m., 8 minutes from first missile detection to complete loss. The 2 sections of the frigate slip beneath the waves 93 miles per hour from Sevastopol. Depth at sinking location 1200 LDA. The ship settled on the bottom, joining the Moskva, joining 3 landing ships, joining patrol boats and supply vessels. The Black Sea floor has become a Russian naval graveyard, and Ukraine keeps adding to the body count. Rescue operations began immediately. 2 Russian patrol boats raced to the scene. They arrived at 1:47 a.m., nearly 90 minutes after the sinking. Black Sea water temperature in October, 59 degf. Hypothermia sets in within 40 minutes. Most sailors who survived the explosions died in the water, waiting for rescue that came too late. The patrol boats pulled 133 survivors from the water. 52 required immediate medical evacuation. 81 were walking wounded or uninjured. That left 337 dead. 71% casualties. The worst single ship loss for Russia since World War II. The strategic implications hit Moscow like a physical blow. The Admiral Marov was the Black Sea Fleet flagship, its most capable surface combatant, its symbol of naval power, equipped with modern systems, competent crew, operating within range of Crimean air defenses, and Ukraine destroyed it in 8 minutes using a perfectly coordinated strike. Storm shadows from the air, Neptunes from the coast. The flagship never had a chance. Neither do any other Russian ships that venture into Ukrainian weapon range. The cost analysis is staggering. Russia lost a $500 million frigate, plus 18 Kalibra cruise missiles, at $1.5 million each, plus crew training costs, plus strategic value. Total loss approximately $550 million. Ukraine expended 4 Storm Shadow missiles at $2.2 million each. 4 Neptune missiles at $1.5 million each. Total expenditure $14.8 million, a 37-1 cost exchange in Ukraine's favor. This is asymmetric warfare done right, but the real cost to Russia is operational capability. The Black Sea Fleet now has 2 frigates remaining. Both are hiding in Novorossiysk, too valuable to risk, too vulnerable to deploy. Russia cannot conduct major surface operations anymore, cannot protect supply lines, cannot threaten Ukrainian coastal positions. The fleet exists in name only, its combat power approaches zero, and Ukraine accomplished this without a navy of their own. Just missiles, drones, intelligence, and perfect execution. Subscribe to Navy Force right now if you want more breakdowns of how modern anti-ship warfare is changing naval combat forever. We deliver the tactical depth you can't find anywhere else. Hit that subscribe button. The tactical lessons from October 7th are profound. First, combined arms coordination is unstoppable. Ukraine didn't rely on one weapon system. They used Storm Shadows to penetrate defenses, used Neptunes to ensure overkill, used reconnaissance drones for targeting, used electronic warfare to jam Russian communications, used HIMARS to suppress air defenses. Every system supported the others. The Admiral Marov faced not one threat, but 5 simultaneous threats. Its defenses couldn't handle all of them. Second, modern anti-H-ship missiles defeat traditional naval defense. The Admiral Marov had competent air defense systems, trained crew, proper procedures. None of it mattered. Storm Shadow missiles fly too low, too fast, too stealthy. Neptune missiles approach from different vectors, saturate defenses. Even shooting down 1 or 2 doesn't prevent catastrophic damage. The frigate's defensive systems were designed for 1990s threats. They face 20 and 20s weapons. Technology gap equals death. Third, flagship status makes you a priority target. The Admiral Marov was tactically important, but it was strategically critical as a symbol. Ukraine knew sinking the flagship would devastate Russian morale, so they allocated premium weapons, risked expensive storm shadows, coordinated perfectly. The psychological impact of losing another flagship is incalculable. Russian sailors now know that no ship is safe, no position is secure. Any deployment might be their last. Fourth, naval warfare has fundamentally changed. Traditional doctrine says fleets fight fleets, capital ships engage capital ships, but Ukraine has no navy. They fight from land, launch missiles from mobile batteries, use aircraft carrying precision weapons, employ drones for reconnaissance. They've created a new model, land-based sea denial, and it works devastatingly well against traditional naval forces. The international reaction was swift. NATO analyzed every detail of the engagement, the coordination, the weapons, the tactics. Western military planners realized that expensive warships are increasingly vulnerable to relatively cheap precision missiles. A $500 million frigate destroyed by $15 million in weapons. That mathematics changes procurement strategies. Surface combatants need better defenses, or need to operate differently. Probably both. Russia's allies noticed. China watched closely. Their navy is built around expensive surface combatants. Aircraft carriers, destroyers, frigates. If Ukraine can destroy Russian ships this easily, what would happen in a Taiwan scenario? Chinese naval planners are asking uncomfortable questions. Questions about vulnerability, questions about strategy, questions that don't have good answers. Turkey controls the Bosphorus Strait. They watched another Russian Black Sea Fleet capital ship sink. Turkey's strategic position strengthens every time Russia loses naval capability. If Russia cannot protect its own fleet, it cannot threaten Turkish interests. The balance of Black Sea power continues shifting, and it's shifting away from Moscow. The Admiral Marov's sinking marked the end of Russian surface operations in the western Black Sea. After October 7th, no major Russian warships ventured beyond Crimean coastal waters. The fleet's operational area shrank to a defensive perimeter around Sevastopol. Everything else became Ukrainian hunting grounds. The Black Sea effectively divided. East belongs to Russia by default. West belongs to Ukraine by force of arms. Was this sinking inevitable, or could Russia have prevented it with different tactics? Type A if you think better defenses would have helped. Type B if you think the ship was doomed regardless. Leave your analysis in the comments. The families of 337 Russian sailors received vague notifications, lost in combat operations. No details, no explanation, no acknowledgement that their loved ones died because admirals sent a flagship into waters controlled by enemy missiles. Russian state media barely mentioned the sinking, acknowledged damage to a frigate during routine operations, never said it sank, never mentioned casualties, just silence and lies. But Russian naval social media told the truth. Survivors posted accounts, described the missile impacts, the fires, the screaming, the drowning. They described watching their flagship break in half, watching friends die, jumping into freezing water, and waiting hours for rescue. The Kremlin couldn't suppress these accounts fast enough. The truth leaked out through multiple channels. Another flagship sunk, another disaster for the Black Sea Fleet. Ukraine's official response was measured. Military intelligence confirmed the strike, released limited details, showed satellite imagery of the burning wreckage. But they didn't gloat, didn't exaggerate, didn't need to. The facts spoke for themselves. 8 minutes, 7 missiles, 1 flagship destroyed. That's not propaganda. That's mathematical reality. Western intelligence agencies provided extensive support for this operation. Satellite targeting data, real-time communications intercepts, electronic warfare assistance, storm shadow missiles, training on weapon systems, financial support. The Admiral Marov didn't just fight Ukraine, it fought NATO's intelligence apparatus and weapons technology operated by highly motivated Ukrainian forces. That's an unwinnable combination. The technological implications are significant. Storm Shadow proved its effectiveness against modern warships, the missile's stealth characteristics, its terminal accuracy, its devastating warhead. Every shot that hit caused catastrophic damage. Britain and France are receiving inquiries from multiple countries wanting to purchase these weapons. Combat-proven capability sells itself. Neptune missiles validated Ukraine's domestic defense industry. These are Ukrainian-designed and Ukrainian-built weapons, not foreign imports. And they work. 4 launches, 4 hits, perfectly coordinated with Storm Shadows. The international arms market now knows that Ukraine produces legitimate anti-ship weapons. Future export potential is enormous. If Ukraine survives this war, their defense industry has a bright future. The Black Sea Fleet remaining 2 frigates face impossible choices. Stay in port and admit impotence, or deploy and risk destruction. Neither option is good. If they stay in port, Russia loses all power projection capability. If they deploy, Ukraine will hunt them exactly like the Admiral Marov. The fleet is strategically paralyzed, unable to influence events, unable to protect interests, unable to fulfill its mission. Russia's Sevastopol naval base has become a trap. The city's port facilities are visible from space. Ukrainian intelligence tracks every ship movement, plans strikes accordingly. Russian vessels cannot hide, cannot safely transit, cannot operate without constant threat. The base that was supposed to project power now struggles to protect itself. Strategic liability instead of strategic asset. The Admiral Marov's captain died with his ship. Commander Alexei Naumov, 23 years of naval service, competent officer by all accounts. He executed proper defensive procedures, fired available weapons, ordered appropriate maneuvers. None of it mattered. Technology defeated him. Ukrainian coordination overwhelmed him. He died doing his job, but his job was impossible from the start. The frigate's air defense officer survived, pulled from the water by a rescue boat. He gave interviews later, described the engagement from his perspective, said they detected the missiles, launched countermeasures, fired defensive weapons, but the inbound threats came from too many directions, too fast, too numerous. His systems were overwhelmed in seconds. He watched his ship die, knowing there was nothing more he could do. That testimony is damning. Modern naval defense cannot stop modern anti-ship missiles in sufficient quantity. If you want daily coverage of how this war is revolutionizing naval warfare, subscribe to Navy Force and hit that notification bell. We analyze engagements like this in detail you won't find on mainstream channels. The Admiral Marov rests on the Black Sea floor, now 1 out of 200 FT down, too deep for salvage. The ship will corrode slowly, become an artificial reef, home to fish and crabs. Its caliber missiles unusable, its radar systems dark, its crew mostly dead. Another monument to failed Russian naval strategy. Another data point proving that Ukraine controls these waters through precision fires and perfect coordination. 8 minutes. That's how long it took Ukraine to destroy Russia's Black Sea flagship. From first missile detection to complete sinking, 8 minutes of chaos, fire, explosions, death. 470 sailors in the water, 337 never made it home. The survivors will remember those 8 minutes for the rest of their lives. The moment when technology defeated courage, when precision defeated numbers, when Ukraine proved once again that Russia's navy is dying one ship at a time. The Black Sea Fleet has lost both its flagships. Now the Moskva in 2022, the Admiral Marov in 2025. Both sunk by Ukrainian missiles, both lost with heavy casualties, both representing strategic failures. Moscow keeps trying to rebuild naval power in the Black Sea. Ukraine keeps sinking it. This cycle will continue until Russia either gives up or runs out of ships. Based on current trends, they'll run out of ships first. This engagement represents modern anti-ship warfare at its peak. Precision weapons, perfect intelligence, flawless coordination, combined arms execution. Ukraine took every advantage, exploited every Russian weakness, executed perfectly. The result was inevitable. The flagship burned, broke, sank. Russia's Black Sea strategy died with it, and Ukraine proved once again that you don't need a navy to control the seas. You just need better missiles and perfect execution. The waters remember October 7th, 2025. The night Russia's new flagship lasted 8 minutes in combat. The night 337 Russian sailors drowned in the Black Sea. The night Ukraine demonstrated that Moscow's naval power is an illusion maintained by propaganda and denial. The Admiral Marov went to the bottom. Russia's credibility went with it. And the Black Sea belongs to whoever has the better missiles right now. That's Ukraine, decisively, completely, and permanently.